So guys, welcome to the second video in this tutorial. We are going to start looking at databases, alright? Building basic databases. So I would like you to use a tool called an online Excel sheet by Google. So type docs, look at my screen, docs.google.com/sheets, okay? I'm using a Chrome browser. Make sure you're using Chrome. If you're not using Chrome, make sure you're logged in to Google using the browser you're using in, but Chrome is best for this. So fine, alright. Once it opens, you click on this icon here to help you create a new document. Remember that you can do this on your phone too. Your phone will prompt you to download an app, alright? Alright, so we have a brand new Excel sheet. This is a shortcut to installing Excel sheet on your system. Alright, you can also use the already existing Excel sheet on your system if you want, but I find this easier because it always goes with me. Anything I create here, I can open any other laptop any day. Once I log into my Google account, I have access to it. And you can also have access to it on your phone. So this is the name of the Excel sheet in case you've never used it. This is the name of the Excel sheet, and this is the Excel. And then if you look here, mine is still opening, that's why it's still typing working. Make sure that yours is fully loaded before you start coding anything. The way I know that it's not fully loaded yet is that this is still an X sign. When it changes to an O sign, then it has fully loaded. Alright, now look at the top right corner here. So here you have your share button. So if you want somebody else to be able to look into this sheet and update and edit and modify, you have to share this document to them. So you click here. That's how to share. So we have to name this Excel sheet. I'm going to call it database lesson 1. Okay, good. Save. So we've saved it. Click share again. It's still loading though. So first of all, here your name will appear as the owner of the document, and then if you don't want to add people to the document, you can copy the link. Look at this. I've copied the link. If you click here, you see that you can determine the permissions for people having this link. So if I copy this link here, anybody with this link can only view this document. If I want them to be able to edit, I'll say edit. If I want them to only add comments, I'll put commenter. Alright, that's one way. The other way is you can actually add people directly. Let me see, share again, like co-collaborators. Here you can type their email addresses here. It has to be a Gmail address. Type their Gmail, click done, and they will get it. Alright, if they are not if it's not a Gmail address, you just copy the link and send to them. Okay, so here let's start our first step. So our first step is to write let's create. You need to understand how relational databases work. They work in rows and columns. Okay, so you need something called tables. Let's say tables. But before we get to tables, you should know that every database system, every database schema, it's called schema, you want to design. Basically, schema is just the design of the database. All right, so every database schema has entities. Those entities 90% of the times translates to tables. Okay, so the database schema we want to start with is, let's say, users. All right, let's say you have a platform that users do log into. Okay, so let's say you need a users table for that, and I just made it bold by clicking this, highlighting and clicking that. So I think another thing I can do is to increase the font so that you guys can see it. Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z. Okay, font size, click here, put it at 18, just so everything will be bold. I'm noticing that it's not allowing me to increase the font size, so I'm just going to start with users. Good, I know what to do. I can zoom. good. I'm trying to increase the font size for you guys. Okay, good. Let me zoom out a little. Fine. So the database is users. I'm going to make it bold. It doesn't matter, just for aesthetic purposes, so that you can easily tell which one is a table and which one is not. You that is watching this tutorial, it's not like it means anything in the grand scheme of things. So a user table will always have email, the user's email, the user's password. Don't worry if you don't understand what I'm doing now. The user's what else? First name, last name. Okay, just to save the day, name. What else? Age. What else? A whole lot of things. Gender. All right. So this is what you can find in the users table. Now, the way I want you to picture this is, whenever you want to think about tables, you think about a function on the main app itself. So let's say we want to build a class register app, all right, so that an attendance register. Every time somebody attends a classroom, they sign an attendance. So first of all, we need a list of everybody in that class, all right. So let's say we'll call it title. The title of the project is attendance register. Don't worry if the font is tiny. So I have to merge the columns. To merge, you highlight, then you click on this icon here to merge. All right, attendance register. I'll make this bold just so it will be easy to watch. All right, so description. So every assignment I give you from now on must be structured this way. You give me the attendance, and then you give me the description. So I'll merge. I'll say description, an app for, or the database for an app for, okay, taking attendance records, okay, of students. So, right, so finally we want to start building the database. All right, now if you look at this description now, you will see that two things are involved. There are two entities. For instance, there's a verb. You're taking attendance. This is an action, so we'll see it as an entity. Then a student. All right, a student is a noun, or students. This is a noun. So usually in databases, nouns receive actions or perform actions. All right, the verbs are the actions themselves. These things represent database or tables. So a piece of advice here, I understand that many people will want to create a students database. Students table. All right. Before I do that, look at this. This thing is structured in this way. There is a database, one database to handle this project. And that database will have many tables. Okay. I'll put in bracket here entities. Okay. And these tables will have columns. Columns are basically, I'll put in bracket field names. So these things, email, password, name, they're called columns. It's just a language. Forget that they're in rows here. It's just a language, all right? So just know that columns are field names. Now each column can store rows of data, rows. Okay? Or I can call it values. All right? So if you come here, this is a table. So what we don't have yet is the database name. Okay, so let's create a database name. I'll create a new row, insert row again, so that I'll have space. Okay, that database, another short form of database is DB name. Okay, the database name, you can make up any name you want. I'm just gonna call this attendance register, attendance _ register. So in database design, when you're naming field names or database names, try to, as much as possible, avoid spaces. All right, instead of you to have a space, put underscore. Okay, put underscore. I think they call this type of naming convention slug, SLUG. Put underscore. That's rule number one. So rule number one, rules. Avoid spaces. So this course is going to be about rules and rules and rules until you figure out all the rules, and then that just means that you've already understood the whole concept. So rules, one, what do we do? Avoid spaces as much as possible during naming. All right, what do we do? Two is avoid capital letters. Avoid capital letters. Avoid them like a plague. All right, anything capital letters, avoid them like a plague. 3, table names must be in plural. Let me not say must, should. So you're gonna see databases in the course of your tech life that the table names are not in plural. They're all messed up. You'll see databases that have capital letters. They're all messed up. All right. So what I'm teaching you here is convention. A way you will design your database such that if you go to Silicon Valley tomorrow, they are designing it the exact same way. If you go to Russia, they're designing it the exact same way. So these are like the rules I'm giving you are worldwide standard conventions for designing databases. It doesn't mean that if you try to do it a certain other way, it won't work. It will. But what's going to happen is that other people will find your database difficult to understand, and you can't recruit new developers to work with you. Okay, so avoid spaces like a plague. All right, avoid capital letters. Always put everything in small letters. All right, if there's a space, put underscore. Okay, not hyphen, but underscore. Two different things. Okay, not hyphen. So as much as possible, I'm going to put it here. Avoid hyphens. Even though there are some words that contain hyphens, that you just have to use it that way. All right. But generally, 95% of the times, if there's a space between two words, put underscore. Don't use a hyphen. All right. The reason I'm giving you these rules is because most frameworks, most apps you'll be working with, most frameworks you'll be using to build your app expect your database to follow these rules. You understand? So let's say you're building an app tomorrow, a mobile app, all right, for rentals, car rentals, and you want to use Flutter as a framework or React or some of those things. They might expect your databases to be this way. Another example is if you're building a website for student management system and you're using Laravel. Laravel expects you to already have your database structured using these rules. All right? Oh, good. So these are the first 4 rules. As we go forward, I'll update this rules list, and then it will make more sense as we go. So now you have seen the hierarchy. Hierarchy. I hope I spelled it well. I want to keep these by the side as we go. Now remember what tables are these? Users is a table, all right? Now remember the rule here that says avoid capital letters. If you look at this table name, I put users, so it has to be in small. Now you notice that it is in plural, okay? I have to put it here. Do not use singular, okay? Table names must be in plural, yeah, good. Now field names need to be in singular, unless in very specific circumstances. Okay, so I'm going to call field names or column names, okay? Field names should be in singular. Don't worry, you're going to find out why it is suggested that this thing will be this way, all right? So let's look at this. So this table is supposed to keep record of all the students, okay? Other things we can have here is their matriculation number or student ID number, whatever. Did you see something now? This matriculation number is 2 words or are 2 words. I use hyphen to, not hyphen, but underscore to list them, all right? Now, good. Let's say the first student signs up. One thing you have to know about relational database is that there is always something called a unique identifier. But before we go there, let's start first. So the first student comes to the app, all right, to create their account on the app. They click on the registration page. The registration page shows them a form that has these fields. All right, so they enter their email, d@gmail.com, and that same student enters the password. The password is runaway. Then they enter their name. Their name is Donald. Okay, Donald Johnson. And then they enter their name, their age. Their age is 37. We're going to come to this. So I want to paint it a little off color so that we can make reference to it later on. Okay, so their gender is male. And then their matriculation number is 12867. Good. All right. So remember that you can, just for aesthetic purposes, make everything aligned. So I can click here, and make everything aligned. Good. So this is the first user. So let's create another user. Another user's name is Chioma at gmail.com. Okay, Chioma signs in, and the password is come close. The name is Chioma Adekunle. Okay, and then the age is 17. I wonder what a 37 years old and a 17 will be doing in the same class. So the age is 34. Okay, the gender is female, and then the matriculation number is 89 blah blah blah. Good. So I think we have this sorted now. I'm gonna have to stop here, but there's something interesting I want to explain in the next video, so don't go nowhere. So this, all right, shows you that based on this table and fields we created, we are now adding data. These data are values. This is actually values. So these things are rows. All right, these are actually values. Now another way I could design this for you to understand better that they are columns and rows is if I say users database, and I say email, password, name. So I'm putting these things in rows like this: name, age, and I stop here. So, but you can complete the rest, and then I start putting the values. All right, the first value is d@gmail.com, and the second email is chioma@gmail.com, and then there is a password called runaway and password called come close. I hope it's making sense now that you're seeing that these things are actually rows. These are data added to the columns. You see email, password, and age. They are columns. Look at it. Email, password, name, age. They are columns. But then this data, for one user, the data will be aligned in one full row. For the next user, the data will be aligned in one full row. That's why they are called rows or values. These are actual values. And these ones are names of fields. Make sense? Thank you very much. See you in the next video.